Boom, 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 boom. I get to start school tomorrow. Yay.
Yay, are you going back to school for what?
I'm going to a coding boot camp that has a really good higher rate afterwards.
Nice.
So I could actually do something that I enjoy.
Very good.
And what kind of language they use?
It's .NET. So whatever is gonna fall into that.
Okay. So like making Windows apps?
Windows apps, and I mean they're starting us off with like before you get there, you're supposed to run through a like an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript walkthrough that they have up, but it's really boring. And in the middle of it, they changed where they want you to do it, and it's supposed to be the same, but like they legitimately leave out steps all of a sudden. So tomorrow's going to be fun when I go. Like you can't actually do what you're asking me to without doing, like 4+ hours more of research trying to figure out what you're asking me to do. So we'll see how that goes.
You're a problem student already.
Yep.
Causing trouble.
That's me.
Asking the questions that no one else wants to ask. Kind of like a detective.
Yes. I also ask a lot of questions that people do want to ask.
Best kind.
Boo, 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 boo.
It's Commander time!
Who wants to read the intro?
Okay.
Go!
Welcome to Commander Time! We are yet another podcast about Magic the Gathering format known as Commander. I'm Patrick Cipolla.
I'm Dean Goody.
And I'm Nate Burgess.
Oh my goodness. Then I guess we get to do our picking of cards for Rivals of Ixalan.
What's your top card?
This week we have Top Transforming Card of Rivals.
I vote that you talk like that for the rest of the show. Actually,
With my voice down here.
yes, with your Rivals of Ixalan voice. That's a great voice.
Hi, I'm Patrick Cipolla, and this is not my natural tone.
But it could be.
This is my adulting voice for when I need to be an adult.
This is the voice that Patrick uses on job interviews.
Yep, pretty much.
What kind of top card are we going for here, Patrick?
We're going for Top Transforming Card of Rivals of Ixalan. Yeah, so
There's a couple of those.
There are. We got another set of turn into land cards that we had previously gotten, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we're all very excited about these cards, aren't we?
I'm a little less pumped about them than the last set. Yeah, but it's because they're multicolored, which does open up their power level, but also like restricts what decks they can go into. But outside of that, I'm excited.
That's fair enough. I don't know. They're pretty cool. I think maybe some of your less excitedness is because the novelty, was a bit spoiled with the first set already.
I suppose. That being said, I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't have a favorite one.
Yeah, me too.
Mine is Storm the Vault / Vault of Catlicon.
So what does that do, Patrick?
That one is a enchantment for 2 blue-red. I think it was the first one spoiled out of the set.
I think it was actually leaked, but yes, I think you're
right. Yeah. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a colorless treasure artifact token with, the treasure artifact token text.
It's a lotus petal.
Yeah. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 5 or more artifacts, transform Storm the Vault. And on the flip side, we have add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, or add blue to your mana pool for each artifact you control. So that's going right into my Brea deck, and it probably will stay there forever.
It's going into all the Brea decks. Everywhere. Forever.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my pick, I think, is going to be Hadana's Climb, which transforms into Winged Temple of Orazca. And that is an enchantment for 1 green and blue. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then if that creature has 3 or more counters on it, transform Hadana's Climb. And it turns into Winged Temple of Orazca. It has tap, add 1 mana of any color to mana pool, or pay 1 green blue, tap, target creature you control gains flying, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. It's just a nice little finisher, you know? Kind of pump your commander up a little bit, and then swing in for the kill. It's kind of halfway between Kessig Wolfrun and Xenagos.
It reminds me of that snake commander from the Azuri deck.
Cassetto.
Who can
Cassetto?
Yeah, Sato, who can pump and give a snake unblockable.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that card.
What is he? He gives +2/+2 and unblockable, but one of those is conditional if it's a snake, right? Target creature can't be blocked this turn.
Yeah, it's good for any commander that's wants counters.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's Azuri Claw Progress and maybe Experiment Kraj.
And then Nate has a card that I think everybody loves.
Yeah, I like this one, and it's not just because I pulled a foil promo at the pre-release.
What?
But it's because of that, too.
Journey to Eternity, 1 black-green, it's a legendary enchantment. It's an aura, you need to have a creature to enchant it on. When the enchanted creature dies, return that creature to the battlefield under your control, so it's kind of like totem armor. And turn Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed, under your control. And it turns into Atzal, Cave of Eternity. It's a legendary land. You can tap it for 1 mana of any color, or you can pay 3 black, green, and tap it, and just return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Boop.
My dream with this card is shoot, what's the snake guy?
The one you just said?
Elder? No, the 1 and a green, sacrifice, get a basic.
Oh, Sakura Tribe Elder?
Yeah, my dream is to do Secure Tribe Elder on turn 2, turn 3 cast Journey onto him, and then sacrifice him, and bring him back, and then
Sack him again.
And then you can sack him again, so you get 3 lands for the price of 1 creature.
On turn 4, you've gone to...
Yeah.
6 lands? Is that?
Yeah, that's kind of my my dream. And the entire reason why I want to put it in my Marin deck.
I think this one might give you the most bang for your buck because you get that creature back, which is nice. It's kind of like, what's the white aura from Theros? Gift of Immortality?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like that.
Yeah. So, moving on to our topic. We all brewed for once. Believe it or not.
For once again.
The main topic.
Oh, once again. We all took one of the new commander potentials and then brewed a whole new deck out of thin air. Nate, who did you take?
Yeah, I picked Azor the Lawbringer. This guy's annoying. He costs 2 white, blue, legendary creature Sphinx 6/6 with flying. And when he enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. So it's like Sphinx's Decree, another new card that showed up. And whenever it attacks, you can pay X, white, blue. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards. It's like Sphinx's Revelation whenever it attacks.
Seems good.
Yeah. I kind of laughed at him at first, but then I saw your deck and I stopped laughing as much.
Why would you laugh at Sphinx's Revelation on a stick?
No, it's the ETB ability that I laughed at.
Well, okay then.
Yeah, it's a specific kind of hate built into the commander. And it's not always going to affect every one of your opponents, because not every opponent have a deck that casts instants and sorceries. If they just have a bunch of creatures, then this ability isn't going to do much for them.
But hey, you get a free 6/6 body attached to that ETB effect, so, and it flies.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you brew, Patrick?
I took Elenda, the vampire Orzhov Queen Lady. I completely forgot her name, and so I actually titled my deck Orzhov Vampire Queen Lady, which I think accurately describes her. She's 2 white-black, legendary creature, vampire knight, Elenda the Dusk Rose, I suppose it would be. She has lifelink, and that's probably the least interesting thing about her, because she also has the text. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elenda the Dusk Rose. When Elenda dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Elenda's power.
That seems fine.
So it's like a Chasm Skulker, except it's a legendary vampire.
Yeah. And instead of drawing cards, you kill things.
You kill.
And you make more things.
She goes really well with Anthem effects, doesn't she?
Yeah, it turns out. Yeah, this is the second way you could build her. That's not the way I went.
Well, I'm sure you had your reasons.
No. No, I didn't.
What'd you do, Dean?
I built Etali Primal Storm. This is the red elder dinosaur. He is 4 red for a 6/6 with 0 keywords. But he has, whenever Etali attacks, each player exiles the top card of his or her library, and you may cast those spells right away during combat there. You may cast those, I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, immediately, basically.
Without paying their mana cost, you have to cast it immediately when it attacks. So it's kind of like Yeleva in that way. I had somebody play this against me in the pre-release, but they whiffed and got lands.
That sucks. Yeah, I think Etali is really, really good. It's really versatile, so I think people might be seeing a lot of it.
Yeah, it runs a lot like a Grenzo Havoc Razor. Or
yeah, that too.
Doesn't run a lot like Grenzo Havoc Razor.
Oh,
because I have a Grenzo Havoc Razor deck. Grenzo requires a lot of support. Etali he can just be pure good stuff. He doesn't need any support. I mean, there's some stuff that you want to put in there, but he doesn't really need a whole lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I think of Grenzo Havoc Razor as more like Edric, Spymaster of Trest. Or you want to have a bunch of little guys and just get through.
The only thing is there's not a lot of evasion in mono red, so Grenzo is a tricky build.
Bedlam.
Yep, I do run Bedlam there. And Bedlam is great with Grenzo because of Goad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's kind of the nice thing on the Grenzo, is on the back end. If you need to be more on the defensive, you can start goading things, but Etali's does not defend like that.
Right. And Grenzo still has to pay to cast those spells, too. He doesn't get them for free. So, Nate, you want to break down your deck for us?
Sure. So this big Sphinx guy cost 6 mana in 2 colors. So going by my usual formula, where you take those 2 numbers and you add 31. And that's how many lands I run. So 6 CMC and 2 colors plus 31, that makes 39 lands. And then I put in... I have a recent theory where the number of mana rocks you run in your deck is also going to be a function of the commander's mana cost and whether or not the commander has some kind of ability that costs mana. And if they do, then I throw an extra rock or 2 in there. So in this build, I'm going with 6 mana rocks. I'm still tweaking the numbers for this formula, but that's what I went with. So including the commander, that's 46 cards so far. I got 54 cards to work with. Now, since the Sphinx has an enter the battlefield ability, and he happens to be in the colors that are good at blinking and flickering creatures, you can bring him in and then just flicker him every one of your turns, and then shed everybody out from instants and sorceries for the rest of the game. Which doesn't always make a difference, but yeah.
And not during your turn, right?
It's just during their own turn. So you're not protected during other people's turn. If I had a Vidalcan Orrery out, I can still run my board wipes or whatever on other people's turns.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But you can't do it during your own turn.
Yeah, so Azor stops people from playing instants and sorceries on their own next turns. But if they have the ability to do things at instant speed on other people's turns, then they can get around that. And then your ability doesn't help that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does still stop them from playing those instants on the turn that they want to be playing them.
Yeah, and it does stop Patrick from playing Debt to the Deathless when he should be killing us with it.
Yeah. That was really sad. Yeah, I mean, my hand was actually had 2 board wipes and a Debt to the Deathless that I just could not get out of my hand because of Azor.
Yeah. So that's cool for me. So looking through white and blue and colorless cards, I found the following. Let's see, how many did I pick? 13? I found 13 cards that can repeatably flicker or blink your Sphinx. Blinks your Sphinx. Sphinx blinks.
Slinks.
Yeah. So the ones that can do it on each of your turns without costing any more mana. There's Conjurer's Closet for 5 converted mana cost. Yeah, you'll probably see Conjurer's Closet on EDH Rec for any commander that has an enter the battlefield effect, because it's a colorless card and you can put it in any deck. A bit less often, you'll see Venser the Sojourner, who's a planeswalker, and his first ability, the one that adds loyalty points, you can exile another creature you control and bring it back. And let's see, when does it bring it back?
It's another permanent you control, actually.
Well, creatures are permanent.
That's true.
So Venser the Sojourner, his +2 ability, you exile a target permanent you own. Hey, in this case, it's going to be my Sphinx. And return it to the battlefield under my control at the beginning of the next end step. So there's a little bit of timing on that. Another ability of Venser the Sojourner, which you shouldn't forget about, because if you forget about it, then you might lose the game when you could have won it, is -1. Creatures are unblockable this turn. And as a -8, which if you get there, congratulations, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, exile target permanent. Just exile it. It doesn't come back.
It's gone.
Just start getting rid of your opponent's stuff. And it could be lands. It doesn't say non-land permanent. You can just start exiling all the lands. So those don't cost any mana. The next ones are per attack. So if these 3 creatures here, each time they attack, you can exile something else, like your Sphinx, which might mess up the timing if you were also planning on attacking with your Sphinx and actually doing damage with it. But if you declare the attacks and you want to do your Sphinx's Revelation ability, then do it right then before you exile your Sphinx and bring it back. Yeah, so the first one is Brago King Eternal. It's 2 white-blue, legendary creature spirit, flying, 2/4. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, which implies you have to attack, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control. Then return those cards to the battlefield right then and there under their owner's control. Blink your Sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
And your mana rocks.
And it can blink a bunch of other stuff, too.
Yeah.
The next one is Gale Powder Mage. It's 3 and a white, a creature Kithkin Wizard For 3/3 with flying, whenever Gale Powder Mage attacks, exile another target creature right then and there, and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And another one, which I like this next one in Marisol the Pretender, too, is Identity Thief. 2 blue, creature shapeshifter 0/3. Whenever Identity Thief attacks, you may exile another target non-token creature. Doesn't have to be yours, but it could be. If you do, Identity Thief becomes a copy of that creature until the end of the turn, and return the exiled card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a conditional clone, just during combat in the second main phase. But each one of those three can repeatably... Well, each one of those three can blink one of your other things, or maybe somebody else's thing, on every one of your turns without having to spend mana.
Mm-hmm.
A few more ways that do require mana. There's a few creatures that can flicker other creatures repeatedly, and the activated ability that these creatures have, there's like an inverse relationship between the converted mana cost of the creature itself and the cost to activate the blink. Like, the higher the converted mana cost of the creature, the lower the cost of the activated ability.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So the one that everyone's probably familiar with, Deadeye Navigator. I'm not going to go into this too much, but it costs 6 and the ability costs 2. Eldrazi Displacer costs 3 and the ability costs 3. Mist Meadow Witch, I don't see that one very often. It costs 2, the ability costs 4. Nephalia's Smuggler costs 1, and the ability costs 4 and a tap. You have to tap the Smuggler. And this other one kind of throws the curve. Angel of Condemnation costs 4, and it's got a couple abilities, but it's costs 3, and you have to tap it to do the abilities.
I really like Nephalia's Smuggler. I think that's underplayed. It's really good in this deck.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen anybody play it.
I was running it in a deck, but then I ended up cutting it. I should probably put it back in there.
So some non-creature ways of doing this repeatedly. Flicker Form is an enchantment aura. It costs 1 and a white. And you can attach it to your Sphinx and pay 2 and white to blink the creature and all the auras that are attached to it. So your Flicker Form comes back when you do it. The next one is Skybind. It's an enchantment that has a converted mana cost of 5, and every time it or another enchantment enters the battlefield for you, then you get to blink something. There's another enchantment called Astral Slide, and you get to do a blink whenever you cycle a card. And if you're doing that, I don't like that one too much, but if you do want to do that, there are 9 lands in blue and white that have some kind of cycling on them. Most of them come in tapped, so that's why I don't like them.
Well, I mean, there are a whole bunch of spells you can do as well, but at that point you're really all in on the Astral Slide plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like Astral Slide so much.
There's a Azure build around Astral Slide, isn't there?
Yeah, I have half the cards needed for it.
There are a bunch of ways to blink something, but it's not repeatable. It's just a one-shot. You spend the card, and then you're done with the card. So I won't go too deep into those, but I think the best ones are maybe Acrobatic Maneuver and Illusionist Stratagem. They cost 3 or 4 converted mana costs, and they both let you draw a card when you do your thing. And Momentary Blink, it costs 2 converted mana costs, and it has a flashback of 4 converted mana costs. So you can do it twice instead of just once.
That seems pretty good.
Are those the best because of the cantrip and the flashback getting you 2 activations?
Yeah, I think they're the most useful out of the spells. Having the cantrip lets you, it helps what you're doing.
That's fair.
And flashback makes it kind of repeatable. There's a couple more that'll put a +1/+1 counter on your Sphinx, but then you're going to exile it again next turn and the counter goes away. So, why Why bother doing that?
I was going to ask if Cloud Shift wouldn't be better. It costs a single mana.
Cloud Shift. It does cost a single mana, and it's an instant, so maybe in an emergency in a meta that has a lot of removal.
Okay, cool.
I won't go into the creatures, but there's some creatures that'll exile your Sphinx just once when it enters the battlefield. But yeah, you can look those up. But moving on to exploiting Azor's Sphinx's Revelation ability. So the Sphinx's Revelation ability, it draws you cards and gains you life. So in that vein, I looked at things that whenever you draw a card, they do something cool. Something like Psychosis Crawler.
That's
if you played...
not something cool.
Yeah, if you played
I love that
a
card.
Nekusar deck, or you play... Maybe some kind of Locust God deck will have a Psychosis Crawler. Niv Mizzet. Anything where you're expected to be drawing cards. Well, Psychosis Crawler, whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life.
Saves you a lot of trouble if you're playing Niv Mizzet. I mean, all that tapping and untapping and tapping and choosing targets.
Yeah, let's speed this up.
Who wants to do that? Yeah.
Speed this up here, people. Die faster. Chasm Skulker, I mentioned that earlier. Whenever you draw a card, it gets a counter, and then when you kill the Chasm Skulker, it explodes into a bunch of little tokens, like Elenda the Dusk Rose.
Poops out a bunch of baby squids.
Blah, blah, blah. And they're all over the place. It makes that sound even, too. Sphinx's Tutelage is an enchantment. It costs 2 and a blue, and whenever you draw a card, you pick a target opponent, and they get to mill 2 cards. And if those 2 cards are the same color, then just do it again. Keep doing that.
Yeah, that's
Repeat
not
it.
one or more cards, is it? So that's each draw you get off of that Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah.
Nasty.
So if you want to mill people out with your Sphinx, that's something you can do.
You wouldn't be running a Rest in Peace in this deck, would you, Nate?
Oh, in this deck? No.
Oh, okay.
No, I got plenty of other stuff to do.
Well, you do love to exile all the stuff that you mill.
Yeah, I do. Let me check. No, I don't.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
have it in there. Yeah, I don't have it in there. Next category is things that happen whenever you gain life. So you're going to be drawing cards, you're going to be gaining life. Oh, I didn't actually use a lot of these, but there's possibilities. Well of Lost Dreams. It's on an artifact. It costs 4. Go ahead.
That's probably not a great synergy with the Sphinx's Revelation because it costs mana on top of the Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah. Stuff that costs you more mana is going to be awkward.
Yeah, you're just getting a loss. You may as well just dump it into the activated ability.
Right, exactly. We should read it anyway, though.
Well of Lost Dreams. Whenever you gain life, you can pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gained, and if you do draw X cards. So you could... Yeah, there's not much point in using this one.
Well, okay, I can construct a reason why.
No. Does it involve Mindslaver?
No.
Oh. Well.
It's any of the life-hate enchantments that make you lose life instead of gain life.
Sure, Tainted Remedy, Reign of Gore, or False Cure.
Lillian. Yeah, False Cure. So, in that case, you would just... Well, you wouldn't even get the trigger because you're not gaining life. So,
never mind.
Never mind entirely.
Sweet. The next one, Archangel of Thune. It's 3 and white creature angel, flying lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Hey, even the wicked have nightmares. And then there's another one that looks really cool if it didn't cost 7 mana.
It's still really cool, Nate.
I haven't really actually seen people play this, but
I run it in a deck, but I probably should not. But it's cool. Go ahead.
It's Drogskull Reaver.
So cool.
5 white-blue. Creature spirit. It's got these big hands. It's going to grab you with the hands. It's got flying, double strike, and lifelink. It's a 3/5. You're paying 7 mana for 3/5. I don't know about that. But whenever you gain life, just draw a card.
Well, it's a 3/5 double striker, so...
Yeah, sure.
The art just makes this card, those weird giant hands. And also double strike in white blue is so weird. It's awesome.
It's the white. It's one of the white abilities.
Yeah, I know it's white, but you really don't see it paired with blue very often. I think this is the only card except for Rafik. Does he have double strike?
He gives double strike.
He can give himself double strike.
Yeah.
Since you're gaining life and you're drawing cards, maybe throw in some alternate win conditions like Feldar Sovereign or Test of Endurance so that you win the game when you have 40 or 50 life. Or maybe Laboratory Maniac if you're going to draw all your cards. That one's a bit more difficult unless you're...
Don't you let Henry Stukenborg hear you say that card.
Yeah, you need to jam in some more self-milling because I don't think you're going to get a Laboratory Maniac win condition just by using the Sphinx's Revelation ability. You need to have more support to do that.
You mean you can't just count on drawing 99 cards naturally?
No, even when you have to pay for each one.
Whatever. It just sounds like a challenge to me. Could build all my decks with no win condition except for Laboratory Maniac now.
Nate, how many non-mana rock artifacts are you running in this deck?
Let me see. I got Conjurer's Closet. I mentioned that one earlier. Alhammerit's Archive.
Ooh, that's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah, so when you're gaining life and you're drawing cards, well, do it a little bit more.
Do it twice.
Let's see. I got Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. Those are mainly just for protection because it's gonna be very rare when you have both enough mana to cast a 6-mana Sphinx and still have enough mana to do a Revelation on the attack step in the same turn. That's a bit much to ask. And I have a Mimic that for some reason.
If you could run 2 Alhammerit's Archives in that deck, would you?
That's it's a legendary artifact.
Yes, but have you seen my good friend Illusionist's Bracers?
Oh, yeah. If it's an equipment that you have to attach to something that you're going to be blinking every turn, then that's...
Well, okay, that's fair.
Well, that's why you run Hammer of Nizan now.
Sure, that can work too.
But Hammer of Nizan only attaches the stuff for free when the equipment enters the battlefield, not when the creature comes into play. So.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well,
Well, back to the drawing board.
Maybe you're playing against in a more creature-heavy meta and you don't care so much about that blink every turn. Then you run those Illusionist Bracers.
No, I think I care about the blink every turn.
Okay, Nate.
Even in creature-heavy metas, they're going to have a few spells.
Yeah. So, Big Sphinx, it's got a good enter the battlefield ability. It likes being blinked. If you've already got a Brago King Eternal deck or a Rune of the Hidden Realm, you're probably going to put the Sphinx in here. And I also like Brago King Eternal in this deck if Azor is the commander.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
Up next is Elenda the Dusk Rose. So I've never actually built a proper Orzhov deck before, so this was me dipping my toe into the colors, assuming that I might never come back, because it turns out a lot of my favorite cards are black and white, so deck building went pretty quick for me. I just kind of typed in almost all of my favorite cards, and then I had to think about all of what strategy best fits my favorite cards. And so I went with a heavy token build. Reason being, when you think about her ability to get real big, you can get the most bang for your buck with Grave Pact effects. So whenever one of your creatures dies, each opponent has to sacrifice a creature. So that means every time I sacrifice, take one of my little, 1/1 warrior from Oketra's Monument or something like that, and I attach Skull Clamp to him, I'll draw 2 cards, get a trigger on Elenda, and then everybody else at the table has to sack a creature, and then I get two or three more, or however many other creatures die along with that triggers with that. So she gets real big real quick doing this. In this case, the real big all-stars in this deck for me were Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, Bitter Blossom, and Oketra's Monument. Just being able to get more creatures for casting more creatures is really nice. Should probably be in every white token deck.
Yeah, that Sorin did a lot of good work for you in our test games.
Yeah, Sorin actually does a couple other of really nice things. So his plus ability puts a 1/1 lifelinking vampire, which is on theme for Elenda. So more tokens, more vampires, all is good. But what's really interesting is that he has a -2 ability, which he can come down and do immediately, which gives you an emblem of your creatures get +1/+0. Period. All your creatures just get, yeah. And with Elenda, that just means every time she dies, it's an additional vampire with that.
That's a good point.
And that's uninteractable power upgrade. So if you can keep Sorin around for long enough, you can make a whole bunch of 1/1 vampires and a whole bunch of emblems, and you kind of go off at that point.
4/1.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, you can make multiple emblems.
Yeah. I was going to do that when Nate killed Sorin, and I was sad. But
Nate.
yeah, so that happens. You know, you can't expect a planeswalker to stay around forever, and it was his time. He did plenty of value in our game. The next thing you need to do for this deck was to put in Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos. Those two being probably the most powerful versions of them. They're certainly among the cheapest versions of them. Also, any like sacrifice triggers you want to go along with that, so that you can get those triggers. So that's going to be things like Eldrazi Monument, which makes you sacrifice at the beginning of your upkeep, or sacrifice it. And where is he? What's his name? Smothering Abomination is another one, who lets you draw a card every time you sacrifice a creature.
That's a great one.
Oh, that guy also did great work in my deck. Because here's the trick. When you have Dictate of Erebos in your hand, and you have Smothering Abomination out on the board, you can stack the triggers so that the trigger for Smothering Abomination goes on the stack, and then you can flash in Dictate of Erebos, and then everybody has to sacrifice a creature along with you, and only you get to draw a card.
Surprise.
So, yeah.
And he flies so he can block Sphinxes.
Yeah. He can also attack. I mean, he's a heck of a card.
Yeah, he's a 4/3.
Yeah. So the rest of the deck kind of is about how you deal with other people's plans and drawing more cards for you. And then there's also the fact that we have to let Elenda actually die. We can't put her into the command zone for her second part of her ability. So we need...
If you want to get your tokens.
Yeah, if you want your tokens. If you don't want your tokens, just go ahead and put her over wherever you want. It doesn't matter. But if you want the tokens, you need to actually let her die. So you need ways to bring her out of your graveyard. So we're looking at like things like Forest Stronghold or Palace Siege. We also have things like Animate Dead, or there's a number of creatures that will also do this for us. And the rest of the deck is just almost all removal. The nice thing about removal is that you get an added 2-for-1 kind of a deal, because we're able to take out a creature and put a counter on Elenda, which is fun. It's great. I would do it again. Because of the way that this kind of build turned out, it turned into a very mid-range deck, and I it kind of always had. There wasn't a time during any of the games with her that I felt like I didn't have an out, which was a really nice feeling for once, instead of being all in on a strategy.
Yeah, that is always nice.
Plus, when you have Lenda out and you do have a huge board presence along with everybody else, and that the damnation or the wrath of God is coming, you're not that scared. Yeah, it'll suck because you did have like a 20/20 Elenda, but after the board wipe, you're going to have 21/1 white vampire creatures. So
and it's like stepping on an anthill.
Yeah, you have built-in protection, and that's a really nice feeling, I have to say.
You definitely want to keep in some sack outlets, though, to protect against exile effects, don't you?
Yeah, that definitely sucks. I had left High Market open almost the entire time against Nate, but he still blinked it a couple times.
That doesn't sound like something Nate could pull off.
Bloop.
And so on to Etali.
Yeah, so Etali. So like I was saying earlier, Etali is really very versatile. You can build him a bunch of different unique ways, and he'll still play differently each game just because of the different elements that you're going to pull from your opponent's decks. So you could build around a certain strategy and end up scrapping it mid-game for something else that comes up. For example, in our one game, I ended up with a Shieldred from last night. So thanks, Patrick, for that Shieldred.
But that was one of my reanimation abilities. Also, she sacrifice. You get more triggers with her.
Yeah. Well, now she's my reanimation. So.
And she's big and scary, and I love her.
Definitely. So, regardless of how you build Etali, there are some things that you're pretty much always going to want. Haste is one of them. You really don't care about giving all your creatures haste, so you're not going to run something like Mass Hysteria or Hammer of Perforos. You don't really care about that, generally. You really just want Etali to have that haste. So, in my build, we went with the classic Swiftfoot Boots, Chariot of Victory, Lightning Greaves, Hanware Garrison, just to give Etali haste each turn, or rather the turn that he comes out.
I like Haunted Cloak, too.
I also like Haunted Cloak. I think I have both of them in the deck for redundancy. Something that Etali is really good with, and I think most Etali decks should run some form of this, is land destruction. It feels really dirty, but, I ran some. So I've got some of the more fun ones in there, if there are such things as fun.
It's one of the equalizers for... It's one of
the fun.
Yeah, so my fun land destruction card is Bend or Break. This is one you don't see anyone playing. It's from Invasion for 3 and a red.
Oh man, I have like 4 copies of these in my bulk.
It's cool, right? Each player separates all lands he or she controls into 2 piles, and then for each player and opponent chooses a pile, destroy all lands in that pile, and then tap all the lands in the other pile. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And then, I've got some of the softer land destruction cards, like Wildfire, Keldon Bombers, stuff like that. I do have Myojin of Infinite Rage, just because it's a huge, big, dumb red thing that costs, what is it? Hold on, let me pull it up here. It costs a bajillion mana. It costs 10 for a 7/4.
Yeah.
But then you can take off. It comes into play with a divinity counter, and you can take that off to blow up all lands. So, mostly I'm running that because it costs 10, and it feels exciting to cast that for free. Next category here is ramp is pretty important. You really do want to get Etali out as quickly as possible. And it turns out that turn 1 Mountain Soul Ring Ruby Medallion is a touch strong. Oh. We had Etali out on, what was that? Turn 3?
Turn 3?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit okay.
Yeah, that game was over.
Yeah.
That was the game I stole the Shieldred. The next category I have here is Burn. I wanted to build an actual EDH burn deck, and this brew came close to actually being a mono red burn deck in EDH, sort of. So I filled the deck with really silly spells like Beacon of Destruction, Runeflare Trap, Searing Wind, Urza's Rage, Volley of Boulders, Searing Flesh. These are cards you have hopefully never heard of or seen in an EDH game before now. Who cares about converted mana costs when all your spells are going to be free? You don't see these cards because they cost an absurd amount of mana. Searing Wind is 9 for 10 damage to target creature or player. Searing Flesh is 7 for 7 damage to target opponent.
Yeah, I think there's better things you can do with these cards.
There probably are, but come on, Nate. How else are you going to build mono red burn?
I took Searing Wind out of Yeleva pretty early on. I had it in there for a little bit and tried it out, but it was kind of useless for me.
I mean, like I said, I think it is bad, but the difference...
It doesn't make it not fun.
Right. The difference between Etali and Yeleva is Yeleva only casts one spell when she attacks. Etali could be casting one spell per player. So, yeah. I mean, you might use this as a removal spell, 10 damage target creature, and then you steal whatever else you need to steal from your opponents off the top of their decks.
Yeah. Now we just need a Rakdos-colored hybrid legendary creature so we can mash our Etali and Gonti decks together. And, what do you think of Dead Man's Chest? I think we're going off topic.
I was unprepared for this. Hold on a second. I'm sure I have a comment.
I mean, I did write the black review. Dead Man's Chest.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, all three of us wrote a part of EDH Rec's set review for Rivals of Ixalan. So if you want to check that out, go to edhrec.com and poke around the articles.
Yeah.
And I'll put some links up there.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's ever happened before, has it?
All of three of us, I think, I don't think that's happened before.
Yeah, the last one I did was Hour of Devastation, and then...
Along with Dead Man's Chest. About Dead Man's Chest. So wait, what is this? Okay, so it's an aura for 1 in black. Enchant creature and opponent controls. When it dies, exile cards equal to its power from the top of its owner's library. You may cast non-land cards from among them as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast those spells. That's interesting.
It's
kind of like a bad Praetor's Grasp?
Or a better Praetor's Grasp.
I mean, depends on how big the creature is, right?
Yeah. It's really conditional.
It's only got 2 converted mana costs.
Yeah, so. I think it's meta dependent, and I think it's probably bad, even if your meta has a lot of creatures in it.
Yeah.
I also think that I think it also depends on theme of deck. Because if you just put this in a random mono black deck, maybe. I could see this being in Gonti pretty easily.
I was going to say, would you run this in Gonti?
Maybe.
Oh, it looks luxurious, having all that treasure.
Yeah. I think I might try it for a little bit, and I'll get back to you. Because I'm... So my problem with it is that the target that you would most want to put it on there is, like your 10/10 Blightsteel Colossus or something like that, right?
Right.
And the problem with doing that is that they already have a huge incentive to exile that creature with the swords or something like that instead of trying to destroy it.
Or Toxic Deluge, which would make it have a power of 0.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so putting this on a huge creature, which is what you want, it just further incentivizes everyone to exile the creature or deal with it in some other way than just having it die. So you need to have a way to kind of force the situation in order for it to work out real well.
I think Henry Stugenborg was interested in testing it in his Shao Dun, the one-eyed Enchantress, mono black Enchantress deck.
Yeah, I think it would work really well in there too, because then it's repeatable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Sorry for derailing you, but
that's fine.
Yeah, you were talking about how burn decks are bad. Or,
yeah. I mean,
were we?
I think the burn deck is probably bad, but if you're gonna build a burn deck, you probably want to be able to cast these giant burn spells for free. This is probably the deck you want to do it in. And I also don't have the luxury of dipping into blue and black for some really excellent spells since I'm mono red. So I went for the fun option. 2 other categories I have here before we move on from this is Chaos is another lockout, kind of like mass land destruction. Specifically, Possibility Storm can lock your opponents out of removal or board wipes or whatever it is that they're trying to do to stop you. The nice thing about this is it specifies casting from hand, so when Etali exiles all those cards, you can still cast it and get exactly what you're trying to cast.
Oh.
Yeah. It also won't lock people off of their commanders if the commander is cast in the command zone.
But it still messes up everyone's plans.
Yep.
In
Somebody
general.
goes to Swords Etali. Oops, well, you just got a counterspell. Sucks for you. And last up, I have Evasion. It's not super important that Etali actually gets through, but you do want to be able to attack each turn, and sometimes your opponents will try to make that difficult with large creatures or, I don't know, whatever they have. So cards like Key to the City, Rogue's Passage, Whisper Silk Cloak, they can make that problem not so much a problem anymore. And Etali gets to hit for 6 free damage. Hooray.
Bonk.
Bonk, bonk.
And Key to the City also helps you out by rummaging through your deck.
Yeah. We should talk about our last games now that we've gone through our deck techs.
Oh, yeah. Our last game. See, because on this podcast, we actually play this game with each other. Not every podcast does that. But hey.
They have their own priorities.
Yeah. So we played a few of these games, testing these out. So in the first game, I played Azor the Lawbringer. Dean was doing something with Saskia, the Unyielding, and Patrick had...
I built a Saskia Enrage deck using all the dinos from Rivals of Ixalan and Ixalan. But that didn't really pan out so much, so we cut it and just went with Etali for game 2.
And Patrick was playing Elenda the Dusk Rose. Let's see, what are some highlights of this game? Oh yeah, Erebos, God of the Dead, kind of shuts down life gain, which makes Azor sad because I need the life gain. So you get a Return to Dust for that. Bam, get out of here.
Yeah, you got rid of my Dictate with that as well.
And then Dean gets a sad face.
This is the game that I did the flash and Dictate with the Abolisher, trick thing, and really got everybody happy. By everybody, I mean me. And
everybody who counts.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I got very far ahead in this game, and then it got to the mid game, and Nate stabilized and was bouncing Azor over and over again, and I eventually finished the game out with Twilight Prophet, which turns out is a really good get card.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys both, Nate used, what was he used, Nate? It was the horrible thing that exiles my thing and gives you guys a copy of it.
Fractured Identity.
Fractured Identity.
You fractured Identity, my Wayward Swordtooth, I think it's called. The 2 and a green for a 5/5. And you can play an extra land during each of your turns, and it can't attack or block unless you have the City's Blessing. So it has Ascend.
Yep.
Yeah, so you guys...
we got Ascend, really.
Nate snatched it from underneath me, and then I was SOL.
Yeah. And we got the City's Blessing.
And I never did.
Hey, thanks for the Ascend card.
Yeah.
Some reminders, or some lessons learned from that game. Gale Powder Mage can exile opponent creatures, or maybe your own creatures that an opponent has taken control of, and then you get them back. And don't forget that Venser the Sojourner can make your commander unblockable, so that it could do 21 commander damage when it really, really needs to.
I don't know what you're talking about. I won that game fair and square, not because of a mistake you made.
Yeah, that's. Let's see. Moving on to the next game. I was playing my Eleva deck.
Yeah, you got crushed
against
so bad that you had to switch to Eleva against Etali.
Dean was playing Etali. Patrick was playing Elenda again, and that game was over quick.
Yeah, Nate and I were trying to cast one creature a turn, and he had a Shouldered. So that went well.
I had whose children?
Listen, she's beautiful, and I love her.
Yes,
and
yes, so do I.
And if I'm running black, she's in my deck most of the time. And
gotta run that homeward path. So yeah, I got a turn 3
If you
Etali
love them,
out.
set them free, I guess is
turn 3 Etali out, and also turn 4-ish. I forget. I got an early Stranic Resonator out, so I was.
That's what you did on your turn 2.
Yes, set it up for a turn 3 Etali. So turn 4, I was swinging with Etali, and I was exiling 2 things from the top of everyone's library. It was glorious. Wouldn't you agree, Patrick?
Sure. I mean, I felt like I could do something if I
there
had
were all
a chance.
those creatures dying. That's good for your strategy, right?
Yeah, it kind of works. I needed 2 creatures, one being Elenda. I unfortunately could not keep more than 1 creature on the board at a time.
And then, Nate, you were running Eleva, so I stole some pretty big spells off of you.
Yeah,
Etali and Eleva actually have, I think we were alluding to this earlier, they have a somewhat similar strategic plan, but a little bit different.
Yeah. I mean, well, my Eleva deck, I'm not doing one of the competitive storm builds with ad nauseum or whatever.
Oh, I remember what happened in this
agony.
game. With my first swing with Etali, I got a Temporal Trespass off of Nate, and I forgot to actually use it, even though I cast it.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
No, it didn't matter. But still, I mean, I would have won sooner.
Yeah, I have a Eleva Bombs deck, not a Eleva Storm deck.
Right.
Except for Mind's Desire, that's the only one.
Which Dean also cast.
I cast that too. And I had a storm count of 5, I think. 5 or 6 when I hit it. But I hit all mountains off of Mind's Desire, so that was a shame.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
So shame.
Yeah, it was glorious for Etali, but if you get too glorious, then the glory is fleeting because the game is over really quick. And then you talk about the next game.
In which you get, attacked for winning tax.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-hmm.
I played Eleva again, Dean played Etali again, and Patrick switched to his Borborygmos and Rage.
Yeah.
You guys had to switch to your actually good decks. Come on.
I don't.
Yeah, I was using the same deck.
I don't know if my deck is actually good. It's fun though.
Yeah,
that's why I switched to it. It does go off. I have a very lucky ability to draw into Abundance and Keen Sense, so I just need to keep Borborygmos around for, enough turns, or just have enough mana floating around to attach that and win the game with that combo.
I hear that's hard to do when Nate casts a Worst Fears off of Eleva and targets you with it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Luckily, Keen Sense does say damage to opponents, so he couldn't also kill me with the combo. But he still was able to kill Borborygmos with his own triggers.
Yes, he was. Yep.
You just throw the land straight up in the air so it lands right back down on your own head.
I didn't even get off the ground in this game. I think I got to 4 mana and I just got stuck there.
Yeah. Nate did all of the. This was the game where Nate did all of the magic. He just kind of.
Yeah, you did some stuff.
I was hoping to draw into a wheel, and it just never happened. because my hand was empty.
That's true.
Doing the magic. Yeah, so Worst Fears helped a lot. Well, it helped us from losing to Patrick on that turn. And then Blood Tribute did some work, and my goblin friends, Vile Smasher the Fierce and Gutter Snipe, kind of helped finish that out there.
Yeah, I think the last trigger you did 10 to me to kill me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That sounds right.
Got you leva with the bombs.
Boom. Pets update.
The Pets Update! Yeah, what's going on with your pets?
I could talk about Hattie's snack on the nose trick unless somebody has something better.
The best I got is that we were flooded, so... My dog.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
Nate, you got anything better than the nose trick?
Probably not. I got some new lamps that have shelves built into the stands, but the lamps are pretty lightweight, so they're probably going to get knocked over pretty soon when one of the cats jumps off the shelf. But it hasn't happened yet.
That's like an update waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Alright, well, for us, Hattie has been learning the trick where you balance the snack on her snoot, her puppy snoot. You tell her to wait, and then you say whatever you say for your dog, but we say okay and we snap our fingers. And then she does this little thing where she whips her snoot around and she snatches the treat out of the air. It's pretty cute.
It's like wax on, wax off with her face.
Yeah, kind of like that. I could probably get her in here right now if you guys wanted an audio recording of Hattie snoot snapping a snack out of the air.
God, that is a level of coordination my dog does not have.
She doesn't get it every time, but she's, like I said, she's getting better. And one time she launched the snoot snack all the way across the room because it was on the very end, and so when she went to snap, it pew.
Got some motion.
Yeah.
All right. Now I need to go to bed.
Okay.
Because if I don't, I'm going to be a very sad Patrick in the morning when I have to think.
And you have your sergeant shouting at you to clean your footlocker.
You call that code?
This is my computer. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
All right. Night, guys.
All right.